What's up YouTube? I'm Jimmy. This is Fare from Scratch and today we're going to be making bolognese. So as a little disclaimer before I start this video, I could call this bolognese, I could call this meat sauce. Honestly, I've made this recipe a number of times and I don't think I've ever made it the same way twice. Either way, we're going to start off by roughly chopping some carrots, celery, and onions. And we can roughly chop these because we're actually going to put them in a food processor. So these don't actually have to be pureed. It's actually nice to have a little bit of texture with these. So we're just going to kind of pulse this until it becomes nicely chopped. Now there are some larger chunks in here, but I'm going to take them out when I actually add them to the pan. So this is about the consistency we're going for here. Now we're going to add those aromatics to a little bit of oil in our pot, and we're just going to stir them up, and like I said, we're going to remove any big chunks we see that's sitting in the pot. Now once our aromatics come to a slight simmer and our onions become translucent, we're going to start to add our meat. So we start off by adding a pound of sausage decased. Next we're going to add a pound of ground lamb. Pound of ground beef, a pound of ground veal, and lastly we're going to add a pound of pureed chicken livers. Now these chicken livers do look a little gross, but they do add a great flavor to your sauce. Now when this is all added together, we're going to just mix these together with our spoon. So now all the meats are mixed and the aromatics. So now we're just going to let that cook for about 20 minutes and we should get something that looks pretty close to this. After that's been cooking for about 20 minutes, we're going to add some red wine. Now traditionally you do use white wine, but I went to try red here. So I just got some red table wine and added that to my meat. Now this may seem like a lot, but we're going to be cooking this for so long, it'll burn off all of that alcoholic flavor. So once we add that, we're just going to stir it in. So as I was cooking this, I was actually making two different types of bolognese because some people I was cooking for weren't too keen about the chicken livers. So I actually made another batch without the chicken livers and without the veal, and these are the comparisons between those. So you can see the one with the chicken livers and the veal are definitely more tender and kind of smaller bits, as opposed to the other one where the meats aren't as tender. Now we can see what this looks like after we've been cooking it for a while, and at this point it's looking really good and the kitchen is smelling unbelievable. So after this has been cooking for about an hour, I'm going to start to add my tomatoes. Now typically bolognese doesn't have as many tomatoes as I added here. But again, I've made this so many times that I want to try something slightly different here. So these are whole tomatoes, and I actually just kind of crushed these up as I was cooking this and stirring this. So now I'm just going to add a little more tomato puree. And along with this, I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth and a small can of tomato paste. After I add this tomato paste, I'm going to start seasoning this sauce. And I'm really just going to use basil, oregano, a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. A little bit of parsley also. So I will say, I season this as I'm cooking it. So this is going to cook for about 3 hours, and every time I open the lid, I may just add a little more seasoning, and I think that really helps build the flavor here. The last thing I add is just a little pinch of brown sugar. So this is going to cook for about 3 hours. And like I said, every half hour or so when I open this up to stir it, I add a little pinch of those seasonings again, just to build that flavor. So this is what the sauce looks like after it's been cooking for about 3 hours. And to finish it, I just add some grated parmesan. So this recipe does take a while. It's something that I like to make on Sundays when I'm watching football. I can just put the game on and cook this in the background because it's not that high maintenance. In the beginning, you have to kind of just brown the meat and things like that. But after that, it can kind of just sit, as you sit. As you can tell, I made a ton of sauce, so I put this in containers that I could freeze and then use later. Now typically this is served over pepperdelle, but keeping in the theme of being untypical, I'm going to serve it over rigatoni. This actually came out really delicious. It's a great recipe, like I said, for Sundays when you're not doing anything and you're just hanging out. It takes a while, but it's really worth the payoff. If you end up making this recipe, please comment and let me know how it goes. I'm sure people are going to do this a little bit differently every time, and that's what I encourage. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.